Hello there. Thanks for joining me again for our program today, Psychology for Today. In this program, what I do is I take research from the area of psychology that applies to our life and discuss it and talk about it and help us all come to the point where we are living better, living at a higher plane than we would be otherwise. So today we talk about depression, the mood of depression. I was struck recently when reading a research study in which it showed that 40% of Americans have a time of depression in their life. You know, that's almost half of the population. 40% have a time when they go through a depressed state. Sometimes it's a matter of days or weeks or months, and sometimes it's years. So people have their own pattern of depression, but 40% of the population. So if you're in a depressed state, you're not alone. People know what you're going through. People are going through it with you. People have gone through it with you. And there's important things that we can do when we are depressed to minimize it, to get over it, and there are certain things we can do to prevent it from happening. And that's what we're going to talk about today, this whole issue of depression. Now, when you're in a depressed state, that's a time to talk. Unfortunately, when people are in a depressed state, that's the time they don't talk. They isolate and withdraw and spend time alone. Contrary is the better way to be. Start talking to anybody. Call somebody. Let somebody call you. Talk to people in your home. Talk to people in your neighborhood. Talk to people anywhere you are. But talk. That's what's important when you're depressed and when you don't feel like talking. Secondly, make sure that you consult a professional when you're depressed, particularly if your depression goes on for several weeks or several months or longer. Make sure that you're in touch with a professional. Clinical psychologist would be your best bet to start with, and making sure that you start discussing your situation and what's going on and perhaps why you're depressed, and then some of the things that can be done to overcome it. So connect with a professional when you're depressed. The third thing to make sure that you do, and that is activate. Keep your body moving. That's the rule of life. That's the rule of life in living, is keeping your body active and moving about. Bike, swim, walk, exercise, whatever you can do, keep your body moving so that you're stimulating yourself and you're giving yourself some energy by your activity. And then lastly, let me just say this. Avoid bad news and bad news people. There are a lot of people in your life, a lot of news that comes into your life. That's bad news. Discouraging, it's hurtful, it's harmful, and you get depressed when you expose yourself to people who are always critical, people who are always downcast, people who are always talking about something negative and complaining and criticalness and that kind of thing. You get down when you're around people like that. Get away from them. Avoid people like that. And same way with news on the television and on your internet and so on. Stay away from the bad news when you're depressed. You don't need more bad news when you're depressed. So make sure that you use those cues, if you will, or those ideas when you're depressed. But here's the question. Here's the real question. Why? Why are you depressed? Why do you get depressed? Why do people get depressed? What's the reason we have so much depression in our world today and in our world over history? Why is depression so prevailing within our world and within our community, within our homes, within our church, within our society, and so on? Well, that's a good question to ask. I'm going to give you 5 answers to that, and then we'll look at some ways in which you can kind of prevent depression. But here's some of the reasons, or here's some of the things that you can do is to prevent your depression, but answer the question, why are you depressed? You can pick one of these 5 as to why you're depressed. You can pick 2 of these 5. Maybe it's 3 of the 5. Maybe it's all 5. Who knows? But why are you depressed? Here's the first one. You get too little positive reward in your life. Too little positive reinforcement in your life. Now, rewards and reinforcement are really the pleasures that come into our life because we have done something, because we've engaged in an activity, because we've succeeded at something, we've been successful at something, we've accomplished something, and we're recognized for that by praise and approval and affirmation and a pat on the back or a gift or some kind of recognition, some kind of a little token. We usually refer to these as like the M&Ms of our life that come into our life. Because we did something positive, we are recognized for it, we're rewarded for it, we're reinforced for it, and we feel better, we feel energized, we feel excited. But when you get too little of that, depression occurs. So parents, spouses, this is what's important in relationships, that you feed each other a great deal of reward and reinforcement so that there's a sense of feeling of goodness within each other and within the family and within the home. So the absence of reward is one reason we are depressed. Not the only one. Here's a second one. Some of us are exposed to too much punishment. Way too much punishment. As a child, we were raised with punishment. You did something wrong and you were punished for it. You did something right and nothing happened. Nobody recognized it even. You said something that wasn't quite correct, you were punished for it. You didn't meet some deadline. You didn't meet some schedule. You didn't meet the demands of somebody, a mother or father or grandparent or whomever, and you were punished for it. Punishment and punishment and punishment and punishment and punishment. When you get too much punishment, you start to get discouraged, and then discouragement leads to depression. So it's a pathway, if you will. So dad, if you're a punishing dad, you're creating a depressed child. Mother, if you're a punishing mother, you're creating a depressed child and a depressed adult in your life. Stay out of this issue of negativism, of all the punishments that are used to control each other, to control children, to manage children in the home or whatever. Even school teachers fall into this category. They often are even very punitive and critical of a student. And when you get a teacher that's critical of a student, that's punishment, that leads to depression in that child. So if a child is depressed, he's probably been criticized and over punishment at home, at school, maybe with his social groups, whatever it might be. So punishment, too much of it, leads to depression. Now, let me just tell you about this about punishment, if you're going to use it. Punishment tells a child what not to do, but it never tells a child what to do. And that's the problem. That's what's wrong with punishment. You're only telling a child not to do something. It's far better to tell a child what to do instead of what he just did. You see? Make sure punishment becomes a well-used tool if you're going to use it. But it doesn't meet this criteria of changing behavior. It just says, don't do this, but it never says what to do. So be careful in the use of your punishment and use very little of it, if you use it at all. Now, here's the other thing that you might think about as to why you're depressed or why people are depressed. Too much exposure to negativism, to adversive events, to unpleasantries in our world. You're watching too much of the negative on television. You're watching too much crime stories. You're watching too much of the battles that are going on at school and around you and in the home and your neighborhood and your community and so on. You're feeding yourself with negativism. And when you feed yourself with negativism, you become negative. And when you become negative, you become discouraged. And when you become discouraged, you become depressed. So it's the pathway of depression. So be careful not to overexpose yourself. Of course, you need to be aware of what's going on in your world. But you can't be overexposed to that, because if you get too much of that, you're going to start to feel the discouragement that comes, the hopelessness, if you will, the helplessness that comes from that kind of viewing of our world today of negativism. And then, fourthly, let me say this, helplessness. If you are raised as a child to think of yourself as helpless, if you as an adult think of yourself as a helpless person, you're going to be depressed. When you view the world out there and having problems, or you view your responsibilities as something you need to do, but you can't do it, you're helpless. You feel you can't do it. You don't know how to do it. You're going to fail in it. That negativism you're going to be depressed. Helplessness leads to depression. We want children raised with empowerment, with the attitude that you can do it, you can succeed, go for it, try your best, I'll back you up, you can do it, hang in there, keep trying, do it again, try more. That's what we want kids raised with, that kind of attitude. We don't want kids raised with that attitude of helpless. Oh, you probably can't do it, don't try, you're probably going to fail, or it's going to be too hard for you. You know, that kind of thinking just leads to more and more depression. Then lastly, let me say this, and I'm going to show you a little picture that is very important to me, by the way. I have it hanging in my office, and this picture is a picture of the wolf, and it's on the screen there in front of you, but I'm going to show it to you just a little bit myself and show you, and then you can look at it on the screen in front of you. But this picture hangs in my office, and I often tell patients the story of that particular picture. I'm going to tell you the story of this little picture because I think it's a very important one, and it's a very strong story for us as to how we live. Here's the picture again. It's beyond the screen. The central figure is an Indian chief, and the two figures on the side are wolves. One wolf is angry, depressed, discouraged, unpleasant, unruly, and the other wolf is happy, joyful, pleasant, loving, caring. Companionship comes from that particular wolf. Now here's the deal. It's a choice. That Indian chief has a choice, and you have a choice, because you also have a wolf on one side of you that's angry, mean-spirited, depressed, anxious, fearful, nervous, and then you have a wolf on the other side of you that is pleasant, happy, calm, relaxed, joyful, companionship. Which wolf leads? Which wolf wins? Which wolf wins the contest? Well, it's not one or the other. It's the wolf that you feed. It's the wolf that you feed. If you spend all your time teasing and barbing the angry wolf, you're going to get more of that. If you have more time with the calm wolf, the pleasant wolf, and you stroke that wolf and you spend time with that wolf and you enjoy that particular wolf and that wolf enjoys you, you'll become more calm and more relaxed yourself. You become more like that wolf. So the story is very simple. We stand at the choice point of life. We can either engage in, spend time with activities and people and things that are negative and unpleasant and hurtful and unkind and angry and mean-spirited, or we can spend time enjoying the issues of life, the people in our life, the activities of our life that are enjoyable, that are pleasant, that are relaxing, that are joyful, that give energy, that give strength, that give encouragement, that gives affirmation. It's your choice. You live according to one wolf or the other, and you choose. So it's up to you. But the point is, if you're feeding the bad wolf, change to feed the good wolf. If you're feeding the angry wolf, change to feed the peaceful wolf. If you're feeding the wolf that's depressed with more depression, you change and feed that wolf with happiness, with joy, and with expectation, and with hope, and with faith. You'll be a different person just by virtue of remembering this particular story and following it. A couple of years back, I wrote a book, and I'm going to refer to this particular book, and it's Out of the Darkness of Depression. Out of the Darkness of Depression. I'm going to draw on that book now as we talk about this topic a little bit further. But what I was attempting to do there is to deal with the issue of depression and focus on the ways in which we can get out of depression when we're in it and prevent depression instead of getting into depression, getting out of it and preventing it. So if you're depressed, if you know somebody's depressed, if you have a depression history, if you're prone to depression, pick up this book, www.booksbyhedberg.com. That's my website. You can get it there. It's on the screen. Or you can get it for Amazon or Barnes & Noble. But pick it up somewhere, and it's just a small little book. Doesn't cost you very much. And out of the darkness of depression is the name of the book. And I'd like you to kind of refer to that book as a little textbook if you are living a life of depression. So I'm going to change positions here in a minute and put on the screen the quote that I have now brought to your attention. You become the wolf you feed. Think about that for a moment. Okay, we're now going to shift our attention to a different perspective. The skill of self-examination. You know, depression results in people who do not examine themselves, who do not think about their life, do not think about how their behavior comes across with other people or how they're affected by other people. They just react, but they don't give thought to their own life and how they live and how they make decisions and how they make choices, such as the choice of the wolves that we just talked about. It's a skill. It's a skill we need to learn to self-examine. What kind of a person am I? What am I doing that's wrong? What am I doing that's good? What am I doing that I could do even better? What am I doing that I need to do less of? You know, what's going on in my life? Why am I behaving the way I'm behaving? Why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I sick all the time? Why do I have headaches? Why do I have stomach ache? Why? It's important to ask the question from a point of view of self-examination. And here's what I mean by that. Plato said it this way: a self-examined life is worth living. If you don't live a self-examined life, it's not worth living. So think about Plato and what he had to say there. It was good advice to us. Examine our life, because when you do that, examine your life. When you do that, you'll have a life that's worth living, because you'll change. You'll be a different person. You'll be a better person. You'll enjoy yourself. So follow Plato on that particular point. Okay, here's the deal. How do you self-examine? Well, let me give you a couple of points. What are the trigger points? What are the trigger points to your depression? That's the question you ask yourself. In self-examination, what do you do that triggers depression? What are you not doing that you should be doing, and because of that, you trigger depression? What are you doing with other people that trigger depression? What are you talking about? What are you saying? What are you reading? What are you thinking about? What music are you listening to? What kind of daily life are you living that triggers depressed feelings? That's what Plato had in mind, to be self-examining. Think of yourself as a person that has options, but you're choosing an option that leads to depression. When you're thinking only of depression and you're exposing yourself to depressed thoughts and depressed experiences and so on, you're adding a life of depression to your own nature. And you don't need that. So that's number one. Figure out the trigger points to your depression. Here's number two. When you get physical symptoms, figure out why. Why are you feeling in a certain way? Why do you have stomach aches? Why do you have headaches? Why do you have jaw aches? Why do you have chest aches? Well, it could be because you're under a stressful life experience of some kind, which you don't even think about. And that's now showing itself in physical manifestations of life. You're showing it in your stomach. You're showing it in your head. You're showing it in your forehead. You're showing it in your shoulders. So note your physical symptoms. Be aware of what they are. But don't see them always as just being a medical problem. See them in part as being a psychological problem, a stress problem, and you're feeding your body a bunch of stress, and it's showing itself in physical manifestation. Now, here's the deal that you need to think about. We have what we call headache responders. These are people who under stress get headaches. We have people we call stomach ache responders. These are people who under stress don't get headaches, they get stomach aches. We have people who are sweat responders. When under stress, their hands sweat, their arms sweat, and they're very nervous people, and sweat comes, and it shows the stress that they're living under. Other people are back pain responders. Under high degrees of stress, they get back pain. They get increased levels of back pain. In other words, when you get into a stressful circumstance, your body's going to manifest that stress somehow, somewhere. And you need to figure that out, what the connection is between whatever the stress is in your situation. It could be your marriage, it could be your children, it could be a job that you're in, it could be people you're dealing with, whatever. Whatever that stress is, the point is, how is that affecting your physical body? How is that showing up in your physical body? I was talking to a young gentleman recently who was explaining about his headaches. And he couldn't figure them out, and he couldn't do anything about them. And what we did, we went back and looked at some of his stressors, and bingo, he was able to identify the fact that when he had a certain stress in his job, he would come home with a headache that night. If he did not have that particular stress in that day in the job, he did not have a headache that night. So he's a headache responder. Under stress, he gets headaches. So it could be the job, and it could be stress of any kind. But he'll tend to get headaches when he's under stress. So is the headache a medical problem? Yeah, in a way it is. But it's also a psychological problem because it's the stress that triggers the headache. And when you reduce the stress, when you avoid the stress, when you get away from stress, you get away from the headache. That was a very simple illustration, but that happens with people over and over and over again. Connect the dots between how you feel and what's going on in your life relative to various kinds of stress. Here's the third point, to follow up with Plato. Be self-examining. Be mindful of your world in which you live. Be mindful of the physical world in which you live. Be mindful of the social world in which you live. Be mindful of the interactional world in which you live. Be mindful. Think about the people around you. Are these good people or bad people? Are these happy people or sad people? Are these uplifting people or degrading kind of people? Are you in a job that is stressful or a job that is elating and happy and produces energy? Be mindful. Think it through. Don't just kind of say, I had a bad day. What was going on in that particular day that made it a bad day? What went on in that day that made the day better? So be wise in your thinking through the issues and the situations in which you find yourself. And then lastly, here's this, according to Plato's thinking. Your emotions may be normal, and they may be common to the situation you are in life. When we're depressed, we think it's bad. It's all depression is bad. Anxiety, all anxiety is bad. Anger, all anger is bad. That's not true. But we want to make sure that we examine it relative to, is it a normal feeling? Should most people feel this way when they are in these kind of situations? Is this what happens in life when things happen and we have a girlfriend break up, a boyfriend break up, a marriage break up, and so on? Are these the normal feelings that people have? If they are, just relax. They'll take care of themselves. They'll pass in time. Do things that will help move them along and move you along in your life experience. So here's the way that you'll kind of think about it. If it's just a kind of a normal stress that goes on in your life will go on, and then all of a sudden something will happen, and all of a sudden you'll have a high level of stress. And it will last for maybe a day, a week, and then all of a sudden that stress level will come on down and you won't feel it, and it'll kind of go away. That's normal. We all experience stress. That kind of lingers for a day, lingers for a week, lingers for a few days, and then it kind of goes away. Don't panic. That's normal. That's common. However, there's another kind of stress that is worth thinking about. And that's when you're going along in life And all of a sudden a stress level comes along and makes you feel very tense and nervous and angry and upset, and it lingers, 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 and does not go away. Now that stress is troublesome stress. That's not normal. That's not common. That's when you consult a professional. That's when you do something. That's when you make changes. That's when you talk to somebody. That's when you get out of your withdrawal. That's when you get out of your loneliness. That's when you get among people. You need to do something so that that life of chronic stress starts to diminish and go away. Now, when we think of the idea of pulling yourself out of depression, I want to talk to you people who are, the 40% of you that are depressed now, or have been depressed and are prone to being depressed again and then maybe again. But if you're depressed, you can pull yourself out of depression. There's ways of doing that. And in my book, I refer to a number of ways in which you can get out of the darkness of depression. So I'd like to refer to some of the ideas that I describe in the book here as an idea for you. And then you pick up the book and you read on these, and it'll be maybe a little bit more helpful to you, okay? Here's the first idea. Learn how to get the reinforcements you need in life. Or another way of saying that, earn how to get the reinforcements that you need in life. A little while ago, I talked about the importance of having reinforcement, not punishment in our life, but having rewards and praise and approval and affirmation and support and encouragement. Very, very important. You have to learn how to get it. You can't wait for people to praise you. You can't wait for a boss or supervisor or manager to pat you on the back or to give you a commendation. You can't wait for customers to say, nice job, thank you, because they often don't do it. Learn how to bring to you compliments, praise, approval. You can ask the question, how am I doing? You can ask for somebody's feedback. How did I do in that? I thought I did pretty well. What do you think? In other words, solicit reward and praise and comments and compliments from other people. That's how you get reinforcements in your life that you need. Don't wait for it to come to you. Go get it. Learn how to get it. Learn the people who will praise you if you ask them. Learn from the people that will commend you when you ask them if you did something well or what they thought, because you know they'll commend you. You need to hear commendation. Okay, here's the second point. Learn to reinforce yourself when you learned something new or when you earned a prize or the recognition for something that you accomplished. Learn how to reinforce yourself. In other words, talk to yourself. We all do that. We all talk to ourselves. I did a good job. I did that pretty well. I thought that went quite well. What do you think? I thought it went very, very well. What do you think? You see, you're getting reinforcement from other people, but you're also praising yourself. You're giving yourself the rewards that are necessary in life. You are the source of your rewards. And if you don't talk to yourself that way, you're gypping yourself of something that's very important. Be a person of rewards, making sure that the rewards of life come to you from others and that you generate them yourself when you deserve them and when you earn them and when you think you should be praised for something that you've accomplished. Here's a third point. Start your day with a to-do list. Enjoy your accomplishments. You know, when you have a to-do list, not just maybe one or two things which are the major things you do today, but maybe make a list of 20 or 30 items and then tick them off as you do them. You get joy every time you tick something off that you did. You accomplished something today. You accomplished it. So make a to-do list of a lot of things that you do, that you need to do each day, you want to do each day, you plan to do each day, and then check them off with a statement. Good. Good for you. Good for me. I did good at that. That was a happy day. I'm happy I did that. I mean, give yourself some words of accomplishment and words of approval, but also tick it off as an approval statement of something that you've accomplished. And along that line, a book was written some years back by Admiral McRaven. It's entitled Make Your Bed. Now, his point is very simple as this. The first thing you do in every day, and you're depressed, the first thing you do every day, it's your to-do list, is make your bed. And when you have gotten up and made your bed, you've accomplished something, check it off your list. Tell yourself you did good. You're happy you did that. You accomplished that. And then go on to something else, and then go on to something else, and then go on to something else, whatever it might be. The first thing on your list, the first thing on your to-do list, make your bed. And then you do it. And you get that sense of accomplishment from the very first go in the morning. Okay, here's number 4. Use Grandma's rule. I've talked about this before. Grandma's rule is very simple. You can use it. You use it with your kids, but you can use it with yourself. It just merely says this. First do something good that you're proud of, and then praise yourself. Then do something that you enjoy. Then go somewhere that you enjoy. Eat something that you enjoy. You see, something favorable follows something that you did that was an accomplishment. That's Grandma's rule. First you eat your meal, then you have your dessert. First you do your homework, then you go out and play. That idea, that's Grandma's rule. Now you use it in life as well. Do something today that's good, that's worthwhile, that you're happy about, that you're pleased about, and then follow that up with a reward of some kind. Now here's the other thing you can do. Learn how to reduce your daily tension and reduce your daily stress. You see, stress is part of your day. Tension is part of your day. We live a life of tension and stress. Things happen in our life. We're discouraged, we're upset, we're bothered, we're annoyed. Things happen. But learn how to dispel it. Learn how to get rid of it. Learn how to let go of it. You may need to learn how to just physically relax. Take a deep breath in and hold it. Count to 5, and then slowly exhale to the count of 5 again, but backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And with each count, you let go. You relax a little bit. You relax your chest. You relax your shoulders. You relax your face. You relax your forehead. You relax your arms. You relax your legs. You relax your stomach. Just do it systematically for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Tense up. Hold it for 5, and then slowly let go of the muscles. Remember, the muscles are like rubber bands. You stretch them, and then you let go. Rubber bands return to their natural position, which is a state of relaxation, by the way. So let go of those rubber bands of your life and your muscles so that you can enjoy the state of relaxation. You can enjoy the state of your body. You can enjoy your body. You can be happy with your body. You can be proud of your body. You don't have to be discouraged and mad at your body and then do something evil about it or something tragic about it. You don't need to do that. You don't need to beat yourself up. You don't need to hurt yourself. You don't need to hurt your body because you don't like it. Learn to start feeling more relaxed and comfortable in your body. And your body is a good part of you. And it is you, by the way. It is you. And let it always be you. Okay, let me move on to another point. And I've kind of said this before, but I'll just repeat it here again. Avoid unhappy and unpleasant people. Avoid unpleasant things. There are people in our life that are just unpleasant. They're just crabby people. Get away from them. Stay away from them. Don't call them. Don't let them call you. Don't answer. Tell them not to call. Tell them no thank you. Turn down their invitations. When they call and want to talk, say you can't. You don't want to talk. Avoid people who are unpleasant because you don't want to envelop yourself in an unpleasant world. Stay away from activities and music and foods and various kind of things that are unpleasant and unhappy, that will make you unhappy in some kind of way. Get away from those kind of things. Stay away. Okay, here's another thought. Stop your irrational thinking. We all have irrational thoughts. I'm going to give you a couple examples of irrational thinking. But you got to stop this kind of thinking because it isn't helpful. It isn't healthy. Here's one thought that's irrational. Maybe you have it. That it is a desire necessity to be loved or approved by almost everyone for virtually everything you do. That's irrational. Nobody has to love you and approve you for everything you do. They may love you and affirm you for some of the things you do, but maybe not all the things that you do. They don't have to. See, that's what's irrational. If you expect somebody to like everything about you and everything you do and everything you try to accomplish, and they need to just praise and think well of you for everything, it's not going to happen. You're into an irrational thought, and that's not going to happen. Let me give you another one. The one that should be thoroughly competent, adequate, achieving in all possible respects. That's irrational thinking. If you think that you should be thoroughly competent in all that you do, thoroughly adequate in all that you do, achieving in all that you do, you're putting an expectation on yourself that you cannot meet. And you're going to be a failure. You're going to see yourself as a failure. You're going to see yourself as hopeless and helpless. That's irrational thinking. And the point is, think more rationally. Of course you do some things well. Of course you do some things thoroughly. Of course you achieve in some things, but not all things. So recognize what you do well, and then start working on some of the things that you don't do well, but you can improve on if you'd like to do that. Here, let me give you one other one. That it is terribly, horribly, and catastrophic when things don't go your way or don't go the way that you want them to go. That's irrational. Why should you expect everything to go your way or to go as you would expect it or would want it to go? That's irrational. Some things go your way. Some things don't go your way. Some people do the things that you want them to do, and some people don't. It's a mixture. But you cannot have that belief that all things should go your way. And if they don't, it's terrible and it's catastrophic. That's nonsense. It's probably not very good that things don't go your way. Okay, we have to learn to live with that. But it's not catastrophic. So, irrational thinking, we need to get away from. And if you're doing some of that kind of goofy thinking, stop it. It's stinking thinking. Okay? Now, let me give you another thing. You need to learn to be assertive. You need to learn to be assertive. Speak up. Let people know what you think. Let people know what you want. Let people know how you feel. Let people know what you don't want. Let people know what you don't want to do. Let your no's be no. And let your yeses be yes. What's the phrase? Let your nay be yeas and your nay be nays. Okay, but make sure that you speak up and let people know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're wanting, what you're desiring. And people will appreciate that. People will appreciate you for that. And you're more likely to get the things that are important to you. You're more likely to get the things that are part of your life, and that can be part of your life, can be part of your future and make your happy life much, much happier at more times than always in life. So be assertive. And then use the assertive skills that you've learned. Use them every day. Make sure every day you can say, I was assertive in this situation. I was assertive in doing this. I was assertive when I would talk to this person. I was assertive at work today. I was assertive with my family today. Whatever. Have some degree of assertiveness every single day of your life. You'll start to feel less depressed. Engage in positive thinking and visualization. That's important. You sit back and you dream and you think about different things, but think about things that are pleasant. Think about places that you have been that you enjoy. Think about the time at the beach that you enjoy. Think about the vacation where you went and you enjoyed it. Think about the drive that you went on and you enjoyed the scenery. Think about a conversation with somebody that you really enjoyed. Kind of visualize situations that you've had that you derived enjoyment from, and then just relive it through visualization. It's like running the movie through your head again. Those are important events and important situations. Use them. Here's another thing. Journal. Journal. I wrote a book a couple years back called A Journal, a place to park my life's story. Now, this is an important book because we know that journaling is just writing something down per day. is an important part of recovery from depression. It's an important part of prevention of depression. So in this book, I ask a number of questions and then give you space to write out your answers. And just share your life, share your feelings, share your experience, share the things that are important to you, share the people who are important to you. But it's your personal, private journal. But write. Most people write a couple times a week, not every day. Most people write several times a week, 2, 3, 4 times a week. You can write every day. Write every night before you go to bed. Write every morning. It might help you. Park your story. Park your feelings. Park your experience in something like this book, My Journal. You can pick it up in Barnes & Noble. You can pick it up on Amazon. You can pick it up on my book at my website, www.booksbyhedberg.com. And then just 2 more thoughts. Learn new skills. If you're going to be depressed and get out of depression, learn something new. Learn to play the piano. Learn a piece of art like that, like we did today. Learn to draw. Learn to write poetry. Learn to write a song. Learn to play the guitar. Learn to play the flute. Learn the drums. Learn to swim. Learn ballet. Learn to dance. Whatever you want to do, learn a new skill. Because with a new skill often comes new people in your life, and new events and new experiences and new activities, and you benefit, from that. So learn something new. And then lastly, live with some hope. Renew your hopefulness in life. It's not all bad. Sure, there's a lot of bad out there, and sure, there's a lot of negativism and things that are depressing and discouraging. But think in terms of the long term. That's where hope is. Hope is always in the long-term process of what can be and what will be and what might be and what you want to be and what you would like to see come about. That's hopeful thinking. Today, it doesn't look very good. The future could be much more hopeful. Begin to look into the future, into the far future, and just have some hope. It may not be accurate, but it may give you a sense of what things can be and where you're going to go in life and what you're going to accomplish in life. So, thanks for joining me today. 40% of the population of America has been depressed or is depressed at this time. 40%. So you're not alone if you're depressed. But you can do something to get out of the depression. You can do something to prevent depression. And I've dealt with those issues today in our talk. So be thoughtful. Be aware of what you can do with your depression, your life experience, your particular circumstance. It's different than anybody else. But whatever it is, deal with it. You don't have to live a life of depression. It's a choice. Choose the wolf that's angry, depressed, mad, mean, or choose the wolf that is happy, calm, pleasant, snuggling, joyful. It's your choice. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.
Phone number, hotline?
And go to the website if you like to, www.booksbyhedberg.com. Any of the material that we're on there. Otherwise, thanks for joining me, and bye for now. And the fact that you might know somebody who is suicidal. Sometimes suicide goes with depression. If you know somebody that's potentially suicidal, give them this number. It's a hotline number. It's on your screen there in front of you. 1-800-273-TALK. 1-800-273-TALK. And TALK is 8255. So there's a number for you if you happen to deal with the issue of suicide yourself or with somebody. There's a resource. Bye for now.